Good morning, everyone. Seasoned viewers, which I suppose makes you 11 episodes in, and new viewers, which would be the last couple of episodes. I'm so glad that you're here with me now. What I really hope is that you're standing on one of these machines like this, or on a bike, or walking your dogs or your children or your friends or whatever. You don't walk your friend, but you know what I mean. Unless your dog is your friend and then you walk your dog. Anyway, hope you're getting some cardio in while you're doing this. Physical movement is great, and with the magic of phones, which is what I'm recording this on, we have the ability to do so many things and multitask. And I hope you're taking advantage of it as I am. Excuse me. So, it's come to my attention that I should probably, for the foreseeable future, start each episode at least telling you the 3 main rules of the trivia competition, or challenge, whichever you prefer. In the end, there can only be one. Like in The Highlander. In the end, there can only be one. I'm not going to attempt to do my impression of Freddie Mercury because I would damage your hearing. But so, the 3 key rules of the trivia competition. 1, say it with me if you know it. You must be a Mormon. No, I'm kidding, a subscriber. I don't care if you're a Mormon. That's cool. Do I know any Mormons? I think I know one. But Mormon, atheist, Jehovah's Witness, Muslim, whatever. You have to be a subscriber, no matter what you are religiously. You have to be a YouTube subscriber. Follow the YouTube. Number 2, you must like this video, or the video you are watching in which you are entering the trivia challenge. And number 3, you must leave the answer or answers as a comment in the comment section below. That part's pretty self-evident. Anyway, so the trivia question. No, make way for it. Wait for it. So since we sort of started talking about religion in a joking manner, there are many different interpretations of all religions. If you're atheistic, then I suppose you have your own interpretation of all religions, but in a different way. But within Christianity, whether it be by way of the Baptists or the Catholics, you have an interpretation of Christianity. Muslims, they were those who believe in Islam. They, I'm sure, have different interpretations. I've heard. I don't know a lot about Islamic law. Don't pretend to. Nor do I pretend to know that much about Christianity. So the point of all this is, and put yourself in that category or any other numerous religions that now exist. There are numerous occasions when they predict the end of days. Armageddon, mark of the beast. So many different title declarations within that. Do I know if it's going to happen? Not a clue. But generally when it happens is when we're moving towards some sort of a significant event. Some will say it during off seasons, either because they believe it or because the media cycle's slow and they can get attention from it and maybe draw attention to their church and whatnot. I'm mentioning this because there is a couple of interpretations I've already seen with regards to the upcoming elections. There are Christians on one side who believe that if you read scriptures within the Bible that concern the fall of Babylon, that America is Babylon, and that the king of the north, which would be Putin, and the king of the south, who they ultimately believe would be Obama, will begin the war. The king of the north will attack Babylon, and the process of World War III and the end of days would begin. There's another interpretation that says that there will be someone who will come to stop the forces of evil. And one gentleman by the name, I think it's Mark. Is it Mark? No. I don't want to misquote that guy. Something, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But he said as early as 2011, he predicted it would be Donald Trump. He thought it would be in 2012, but it was kind of interesting because he said he thought so during a horse race, I guess that was about to occur, with a horse named Secretarial, that it was going to somehow represent something within the terms of someone coming in to stop the forces of evil and corruption that are happening within the American political system. But I can't remember the name of the horse, but he said instead of it being that horse that won, it was one that was called, oh God, I can't remember. It was something like Another Day or something, which he says now was God's way of saying that my people need 3 or 4 more years before they will truly be ready to join this force, this chosen one, to help combat that evil. So 2 interpretations. One, the beginning of the end. The other, the Armageddon interception, so to speak, or interception of Armageddon. And Trump gets the ball. I don't know if one or either are true. But there comes a time when you consistently, and I'm not going to say these individuals are that way, but when you start making doomsday predictions every time you turn around, you become the boy crying wolf, figuratively speaking. And it becomes harder and harder to grasp the idea of what you're saying. Also because religious manuscripts are a lot like Shakespeare. You can interpret them based on how you see it. just like poetry, there's Robert Frost wrote a poem called The Road Not Taken, a Road Less Traveled. I can't remember. But, great poem. But in the end, all these people interpreted it as he was saying, well, I took the more challenging road. The one that was not as easy as other people. And that's made all the difference as to who I've become. Well, as I recall, when he was interviewed about that poem, he said it really wasn't as dramatic as people made it out to be. I went hunting with someone, he took one path and I took another. That's the only difference. And just his view and experience by taking that path was the difference. Made all the difference. But everybody looks for underlying meaning. I'm not here to tell you that they're wrong. I'm just telling you that religious and even anything literary based, unless very, very distinctive, and even in that case, is open to interpretation. Not to degrade your religion. So, trivia question. Who is the only president to serve more than 2 terms? And what prevented future presidents from pursuing more than 2 terms? So, it's a 2-part question. And I was talking the other day about the Hillary Clinton thing. So, when it comes to Hillary Clinton and her health, excuse me, I do believe she's sicker than they are telling us. I believe she has a prolonged issue, whether it is a tumor that has returned because she did have a tumor before that was treated and she survived, obviously. But there are people who say it's returned and that it's stronger. And this does happen. If you have cancer and it goes into remission, but it returns, it does become much more difficult to beat it. Because obviously it's built up a tolerance to the antibodies and whatever else your immune system that tries to fight it off. And probably within its makeup is a protection against whatever else was used to defeat it the first time. So it has a stamina's not the right word, but it has a resistance and an immunity of its own to those same methods and medicines or whatever that were used to combat it before. That's why radiation may not even work on it, because it's built up a tolerance. It has happened, but it does become much more difficult. So I believe that either she does have advancing Parkinson's or that she does have a tumor. That's my personal belief. And I believe that she will be gone, not dead. I believe she will be withdrawn from the election before the debates happen on the 28th, I believe. Which is, I think, really sad that someone's going through that. But I don't believe she was ever really ready to be president anyway. It's not about her gender, by the way. It's about her, just who she is. She's never been as strong leader, in my opinion. So, the question of what I mentioned yesterday was, do I think that there's a way to stop the election from being suspended and for the Electoral College to conduct their own election without a general population election? The answer is I do believe it's possible. I believe it's possible to avoid an electoral election or any kind of election whatsoever. When you answer today's trivia question, which I will answer in a few minutes, you will discover that there is one thing that can overcome it, and it's called, some call it a FEMA, there are terms for it, but it's a provisional government. And a provisional government essentially is when elections and the like are frozen by the government in times of civil or foreign wars. So we definitely have the potential of foreign wars, whether it be from Russia or from radicalized Islamic states, Iran. There's a number of opportunities that foreign wars could occur. But something that people don't talk about as much is civil wars, which we are very much in the midst of right now. It has not become severe yet, but it could, because with groups like Black Lives Matter, groups like the KKK, Black Panthers, white supremacists, anything that would throw Asian or Latin descent individuals into it. There are groups that are battling in our society, and if those escalate, and they can, just like that, it hurt, no I'm kidding, if those escalate on a very grand scale, the president does have the ability, even though I'm sure it'd be called into tremendous question and create more problems, to enact a provisional government in which elections would be suspended, and essentially the current residing president would essentially become a monarch, a king. And at that point, there's no requirement that he institute any election. He could simply take control, him or her, whatever the case may be. So it's possible to create that situation. If an attack happened from a foreign enemy or international enemy abroad, outside of our borders, the same could occur. Let's say another similar circumstance to 9/11 occurred, and the president determined that created such an uproar within our society that having an election would not be, by his declaration in this case, would not be appropriate, or would not be a good time to do such a thing, because we're in the midst of war. We should not be changing leadership. They could do that. And the answer to the second part is the 22nd Amendment, ratified on February 27th, 1951, that set two-term limits for the President of the United States. The one and only president to actually serve more than 2 terms, Franklin D. or Delano Roosevelt, who served 3.5 terms approximately because he died in office. And I think it was the 2nd year of his 4th term. So this does exist, and it's something as a democratic election society. We don't live in a democracy. Don't confuse that. Remember that your Pledge of Allegiance, which few people seem to want to do anymore, it says to the Republic. Not to the democracy, to the Republic. And we'll talk about the difference between a republic and a democracy at some other point, but we live in a republic with democratic, albeit a little messed up, democratic elections. So that would be, for example, if you go back to the early 2000s, by popular vote, Al Gore, Bill Clinton's vice president, would have been elected because he won the popular vote. But he did not win the electoral vote. George W. Bush did, obviously. And there's a lot of back and forth about this. One side calls conspiracy on one occasion and then vice versa. My conspiracy, if you want to call it that, is that they are disguising and holding back Hillary Clinton's condition, because I don't think they care if she survives in office. I think they just want her in office. Like I said, because she knows where the bodies are buried, or she buried the bodies herself, whatever the case may be. I don't know. But I do believe she and Bill have leverage because of their knowledge of things. And they're clearly not afraid to sell it or use it to their benefit. So keep those things in mind. One of the things I was watching earlier, it started out with this sort of declaration about the idea of the end of days coming and the prediction that it would happen before January 1st of 2017. But at the end, it became a commercial for a survival guide, because their prediction is that the King of the North, which I know it sounds like Game of Thrones, but the King of the North, not Jon Snow, by the way, Putin, would use an EMP to send us into blackout, killing electronic devices, wiping out electricity, and that ultimately within the first day a lot of people would, die and perish, and over the course of a matter of weeks, a tremendous amount of the population would be wiped out. Apocalypse, The Walking Dead, whatever you want to call it, because eventually people would become so ravenous they could be willing to eat other people in order to survive. But they believed that Putin would use an EMP, which is an electronic magnetic pulse, to shut down the grids in the United States and send us into blackout and lower communications. And they're suggesting this survival guide that you can purchase from them, and you get a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you can look at that if you want to. I don't want to hype anything like that. But I will tell you that there's a little trick to 60-day money-back guarantees, and even 90 days. Just so you know, the idea is, unless you have a consistent pattern over a certain period of time, they think the average, they say, is now 30 days normally. But if you don't pay attention to something, if you buy a book, and let's say you don't sit down and read it immediately, or you keep it as a consistent part of your daily activity, you forget about it. In a week, you're still thinking about it. 2 weeks, you may have a thought about it. 30 days in, you don't even remember it. And 60 days have passed before you know it, and you don't get a refund because you never pursued it. 90 days is the same thing, only they know you won't remember on day 88, I need to return that. Very few people do. So it's really more of an advertising thing, because they know that after 30 days, the last thing you're thinking about is that purchase you made a month ago, you're already on to the next. So just keep that in mind when you're hearing 60 and 90 days. That's just about how the mind works. They just make you feel like, oh, okay, I'm gonna refund. I got plenty of time. No, because if you don't return it within a week, you're probably never gonna return it. I say it because I'm also falling for it. It's psychology 101. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Do not forget, number 1, subscribe. Number 2, like. Number 3, buy me a pony. Oh wait, no, not buy me a pony. Leave a comment with the answer down below, if you will. I'm trying to do my Bill Cosby impression. With the pudding and the Jello pop, and I can't do Bill Cosby right now. I miss Bill Cosby. Okay, stop. Did you hear that? I want you to rewind the video back to 26 minutes and 1 second and listen and tell me if when I make that joke about Bill Cosby, you hear a giggle in the background that goes, hee. Do you hear that? You want to know why that's creepy? There was no one in that room with me. At least no one that you could see. I'm not joking at all. I was just editing the footage and it creeped me out when I made that joke and I heard this little thing go, hee. I was like, what the hell is that? So rewind it back to 26 and 1 second if you want to hear it, but I'm going to restart it with that part happening again. Tell me if that is not creepy as hell. Anyways, poor man. Yeah, I know there's so many conversations about whether or not he did stuff to chicks and whatever else. I know he did it to one because he admitted it. If he did it to others, shame on him, but I don't think it changes what the Cosby Show represented. Anyways, what am I doing? All right, take care. Have a wonderful day, and be well. Go have a Jello pudding pop. They're not naughty, I promise. They're good. Haven't had one in years. I'm gonna go buy some of those. Be well.